Welcome to the deep dive.
Good to be here.
So, think about a product you really, really like, Maybe it's, I don't know, an old car model you love, or your smartphone.
Or even just like your favorite coffee brand.
Right, exactly. How long has that thing actually been around?
It's a good question. Sometimes longer than you think.
Yeah. And have you noticed how it changes? Maybe new features pop up?
Or sometimes they just disappear from the shelves entirely.
They do. Well, that whole journey,
Yeah,
that's what we're looking at today.
exactly. It's this fascinating process called the product life cycle.
The product life cycle, right. And our mission really is to dig into the sources you gave us on this
Okay.
and pull out the key stuff, the strategies, help you quickly get a handle on the stages products go through.
And why they move through them.
Yes. Why the shifts happen and what it all means for how businesses actually operate, how they strategize day to day.
It's kind of a shortcut, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
To understanding something that, well, it touches almost everything we buy and use.
Totally. So let's unpack it. What's the core idea here?
Okay, so the basic concept is pretty straightforward. Pretty much all successful products go through these distinct stages.
Right.
Introduction, then growth, maturity, and, well, eventually decline.
And businesses aren't just sitting back watching this happen, are they?
Oh, definitely not. They have to be proactive, constantly adapting.
Oh, so.
By launching new things, tweaking existing products, sometimes even making the tough call to pull a product.
Because if they don't,
If they get it wrong, yeah, you're looking at sales dropping off, profits shrinking. It's high stakes.
so it's this like continuous strategic dance.
That's a good way to put it.
And what I found really interesting in the sources is how deeply these stages affect marketing strategy.
Absolutely. Everything changes depending on the stage.
We're going to look at this through the lens of the 7 Ps of marketing. Kurt.
That's the plan. Product, price, distribution, promotion, people, physical evidence, and process.
Maybe we should quickly just touch on what those mean for anyone less familiar.
Good idea.
Yeah.
So, product, that's the actual thing. The service, its features, the brand.
Okay.
Price is obvious, what it costs you.
Yep.
Distribution is where and how you get it. Stores, online, whatever. Promotion is all the advertising, the communication, trying to persuade you,
Mm-hmm.
people that covers the staff, customer service, even the customers themselves.
Right.
Physical evidence.
Mm-hmm.
That's the tangible stuff. Packaging, the store's look, website design,
The
documents.
things you can see and touch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And process is about the systems. How easy is it to buy? What's the after-sales service like?
Okay, great. So keeping those 7 Ps in mind, where does this whole product journey begin?
It all kicks off with stage one, introduction, the launch, the big launch moment, yeah, when a totally new product hits the market.
And the main goal here is just getting noticed.
Pretty much. Building awareness, getting those first few customers, starting to carve out some market share. It's about planting the flag, really.
So thinking about those 7 Ps, what are the key moves businesses make here?
Well, in introduction, it's often about investment. For the product itself, the focus is just establishing the brand, making sure it's reliable. It has to work.
Build that initial trust.
Exactly. Then price. This is interesting. It's often set quite a bit lower than maybe competitors, if there are any yet.
Like an introductory offer?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like an invitation for those first people, the early adopters, to give it a shot. It might even be priced at a loss initially
Really? Why?
to overcome that natural skepticism people have about new things. Build that early momentum. It's an investment in future profit.
Ah, okay. Buying that early loyalty, almost.
You could say that.
And I guess promotion then is all about education.
Absolutely. It's heavily focused on those early buyers, explaining what the product does, why it's different, what the benefits are.
Makes sense.
Distribution usually starts quite selective. You don't flood the market right away. Let it build gradually.
Okay. And the people involved.
The people, yeah. Staff need solid training to explain all the new features because nobody knows them yet.
Right.
And things like physical evidence, maybe detailed test results, showing unique features in the process, like strong warranties or good after-sales service. Those are crucial for reassurance, when something's totally new.
A really current example of this stage, maybe artificial intelligence.
I'd say AI fits perfectly. It's definitely launched. You see it everywhere. But the full market potential, still developing. We're figuring it out.
Yeah. And the sources mentioned 3M, didn't they? Inventors of sticky tape.
They did. 3M's a classic example of a company that historically nailed introductions. Post-it notes, optical films, Scotch-Brite. They really know how to get that initial stage right.
Okay, so after introduction, assuming things go well,
Then you move into stage 2, growth.
and this is where things really start to pick up steam.
Exactly. Sales start climbing significantly. The product catches on.
So the goal shifts now. It's not just awareness anymore.
Right now, it's about really pushing for brand acceptance, grabbing more market share, sometimes quite aggressively.
So introduction was proving the concept. Growth is scaling it. How do the 7 Ps change now?
Oh, they shift quite a bit. The product itself, quality is key, often improved. You might add support services as more people use it.
Okay.
And price. Interestingly, you can often maintain the price per unit here
Why is that?
because demand is rising fast, market share is growing, there's leverage there. You're riding that wave of popularity.
Makes sense. And distribution?
Distribution expands rapidly. Got to get the product out there, make it available where people are looking for it now. More channels open up.
And promotion changes too, I bet.
Big time. Promotion now aims for a much wider audience. You're moving beyond the early adopters to the mass market.
Right. And what about the people P, the human side?
That becomes a huge asset. Those early satisfied customers, their testimonials, word of mouth. That's incredibly powerful people-driven marketing.
Sure. Free advertising almost.
Pretty much. And for physical evidence, you can now show more proof of success. Case studies, examples of it working in different situations.
Building more confidence.
Exactly. And the process side, things like after-sales support, customer follow-up, they become really well established, much more systematic.
Good examples here. Maybe smartphones and tablets?
Perfect example. Constantly updating sizes, weights, features. That keeps fueling the growth, keeps demand high with those little improvements.
Absolutely. But that steep growth curve,
Yeah.
it can't last forever, right?
No, inevitably it starts to flatten out. And that brings us to stage 3, maturity.
Okay, so what defines maturity?
This is when the product is, fully accepted, sales hit their peak, but then they plateau. The market gets saturated, lots of people who want it have it.
So the main challenge isn't growth anymore.
No, the strategic game changes completely. Now it's all about differentiating your product from the competitors that have inevitably jumped in.
Yeah.
And fiercely defending your market share.
So it gets crowded.
Very crowded.
Yeah.
How companies navigate this stage often determines if they stick around long term.
So the 7 Ps pivot again.
They really do. The product itself. Features, packaging, everything gets tweaked to emphasize how it's different from the others. Think new and improved.
We see that all the time.
Yeah. And price. Well, you might actually need to adjust it downwards now.
Really, even at peak sales.
Sometimes, yeah, to stay competitive. New rivals might be cheaper. You need to fight to keep that market share.
Okay. And distribution.
For distribution, maybe you start offering incentives to retailers or distributors. Get them to favor your product over the rivals on the shelf. Exclusive deals, perhaps.
Interesting. And promotion. Still important.
Oh, yeah. Promotion keeps going, but the message shifts.
Yeah.
It's about reinforcing that your product is still the best choice, maybe highlighting those unique differentiating features.
And I guess the people involved, the sales staff, become crucial here.
Hugely. Staff need to be trained to point out those subtle differences. Why this washing machine, why this car is better than the similar-looking one next to it.
Explaining the unique selling points.
Exactly. And physical evidence might need updating too. Maybe more detailed comparisons or testimonials that specifically address competitor claims because customers are much savvier now.
Right. They've done their research.
They have. And the process. By now, all the sales systems, service systems, they should be running like a well-oiled machine. Efficiency is key to maintaining profit margins when competition is fierce.
A good example you mentioned earlier, Volkswagen phasing out petrol cars.
Yeah, that's a massive strategic move, signaling a shift away from a product category, the internal combustion engine car that's clearly very, very mature. They see the writing on the wall.
Which leads us often to the next stage.
Stage 4, decline.
When things start to head downwards.
Yeah, this is when the product just doesn't appeal as much anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe new competitors are way better. Maybe technology leapfrogged it. Maybe taste just changed. Sales start to fall. Sometimes quite quickly.
This sounds like a tough spot for a business.
It's often the hardest stage. You've got difficult choices to make.
Like what?
Well, for the product, you might discontinue it altogether. Just stop making it.
Okay.
Or sell off whatever inventory you have left.
Yeah.
Maybe try to sell the whole product line to another company to cut your losses.
Or is there another option?
Some companies try a last-ditch effort at rejuvenation, try to improve it somehow.
Yeah.
But often, it's about managing the exit.
And the price reflects that.
Oh, yeah. Price usually gets slashed. big discounts to just clear out the remaining stock.
Makes sense. And distribution.
Distribution channels get reduced. Maybe you only sell it through specific outlets or just to a small group of really loyal customers who still want it.
And promotion, presumably, just stops.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Promotion is typically wound down, discontinued over time. Why spend money promoting something that's on its way out?
True. What about the people?
On the people side, staff might get empowered to offer special deals, really try to shift that last bit of stock, make those final sales count.
Okay. And physical evidence process. Still relevant.
Somewhat. For physical evidence, you might still need basic info available, just assuring people it still works, even if it's old tech. And the process still needs to be efficient. You don't want a messy exit that damages the company's overall reputation. Handle returns smoothly, things like that.
A clear historical example you mentioned was leaded petrol cars.
Classic case. Declined through the 80s as unleaded became the norm, and then eventually banned in many places in the 90s. A complete decline driven by environmental and health concerns.
But wait, it's not always game over at decline, is it?
No, that's the interesting twist. Some products manage to avoid just fading away. They get revived.
Which brings us to stage 5, extension.
Exactly. This is where a product, instead of declining, essentially gets a new lease on life. It enters a whole new cycle of growth and maturity.
How does that actually happen? What are the strategies?
Well, there are a couple of main ways this extension can happen. One big one is expansion through export.
Taking it global, basically.
Yeah, marketing the product in new countries, new regions where it has gone through the life cycle yet, or where there's fresh demand.
The sources gave some reasons for this, particularly for Australian businesses.
They did. Pointed out things like government policies and trade agreements since the 80s, really opening things up globally for Australia.
Okay.
Plus, Australia has a relatively small domestic market, only about 27 million people. So if businesses want serious growth, often they have to look overseas.
And technology must play a role now, too.
Hugely. The rise of e-business, the internet, it's made exporting so much easier, especially for smaller companies. They can sell directly to customers anywhere.
Okay, so exporting is one way to extend. What's the other?
The other main strategy is expansion through diversification.
Spreading the risk.
Exactly. It's that classic idea. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Introduce new products or enter new markets or both.
And that diversification itself can take different forms.
Correct. You've got product diversification. That's simply adding more products to your range.
Like the John West example.
Perfect example from the sources. John West was mature in just plain canned tuna. So what do? They diversified into those snack meals, tuna, with rice, different flavors. Created a whole new related product line, extending the brand's relevance.
Smart. And the other type?
That's geographic diversification, basically operating in lots of different places, domestically or globally.
So if one market has a downturn.
Exactly. If sales slump in one country or region, your business isn't totally reliant on it. You've got other markets keeping things afloat. It's a safety net.
Okay, so we know products can be extended, but going back a step, what really pushes them into decline in the first place? What are those big pressures?
The sources highlighted a few key drivers. One is just changing public perception.
Fashions change.
Right. What's cool, what's relevant, what people value. That shifts over time. A product can just fall out of favor.
Okay.
A huge one is new technologies. They're constantly popping up.
Disrupting things.
Totally. Bringing new products that flat out replace older ones or just make them seem obsolete. Think digital cameras wiping out film cameras for most people.
Yeah, that was a big one. And it's not always predictable, is it? Sometimes big events shake things up.
Absolutely. That's the third point. Unexpected events and shifts in consumer behavior. The sources mentioned COVID-19 that dramatically changed what people bought and how.
For sure.
And another massive ongoing shift is the push to reduce carbon emissions. Consumers increasingly expect greener, more sustainable products.
So businesses have to adapt.
They really do. Either they innovate and offer those more environmentally friendly options, or their existing, less green products risk disappearing. It's a huge pressure to evolve now.
Okay, can really see all these stages play out. Let's talk about that case study, the Volkswagen Beetle.
The Beetle. A truly iconic car. Its story, spanning from 1933 way up to 2003, is almost a perfect illustration of the entire life cycle.
So where did it start? The introduction phase.
It began back in 1933. Adolf Hitler actually ordered it, wanting a people's car, a Volkswagen for Germany. Ferdinand Porsche developed it.
Wow, and the specs were basic.
Very basic. Carried 2 adults, 3 kids, go 100 kilometers per hour, and cost about the same as a small motorcycle. Simple, affordable transport.
And after World War II.
After the war, the British were controlling the factory. The Germans started calling it Kaffer, which means beetle, and the name stuck.
Right.
The British Army actually ordered 20,000 of them. Production ramped up to 1,000 a month. And then in 1957, they made the rear window bigger, which was really popular. Sales started to climb.
Okay, so that leads into the growth phase.
Yeah. They made small improvements, better handling, a bit more engine power. Nothing drastic, just refining it.
And it caught on.
Big time. By 1955, they'd made the millionth Beetle in Germany. It gained this reputation for being really reliable, performing well compared to other small cars back then.
So it started to dominate its niche.
It really did, which pushed it into the maturity phase by the early 1960s.
Okay, so peak Beetle time. What happened then?
This is when they made more noticeable changes to differentiate it. Bigger side and front windows. They added a more powerful 1300cc engine option, partly to compete with rivals like the Morris Mini.
Ah, the competition was arriving.
Exactly. In '73, they even launched the Super Beetle with a curved windscreen. But it wasn't just the car.
What else?
Really clever advertising. Those campaigns playing up its unique looks, its toughness, its reliability. That helped it actually surpass the Ford Model T in total production numbers.
Wow, overtake the Model T. That's incredible. It was truly global by then.
Absolutely massive. Produced all over the world, including Australia. By '73, they'd made over 16 million Beetles. Huge sales everywhere. By 1992, the number hit 21 million.
Just staggering numbers. But even the Beetle couldn't stay mature forever.
No. Eventually, the decline phase set in.
What caused it?
Newer small cars, especially from Japan and the US, started offering much better technology. Front-wheel drive, water-cooled engines, better fuel efficiency, things the Beetle just didn't have.
So it started to feel dated.
It did. VW tried to update it, make improvements, but it didn't really work. Worldwide sales started to fall.
And production eventually stopped.
In Germany, yes, production stopped in 1978. But remarkably, it kept being made in Brazil and Mexico right up until 2003.
Wow, really?
Yeah, its simplicity and ruggedness still had appeal in those markets for a long time.
But there was an attempted extension, wasn't there? The new Beetle.
There was. That was a clear attempted extension, launched in 1998, much rounder design, but it deliberately kept that classic Beetle silhouette, trying to tap into nostalgia.
Did it work?
It had some promising sales initially. People were excited, but ultimately, no.
Why not?
It faced intense competition in the modern car market, especially with the rise of SUVs. Consumer tastes had shifted again. It was discontinued in 2019.
So even an icon couldn't fully escape the cycle in the end.
It's a really powerful example. Shows how even legendary products, despite efforts to extend their life, usually follow that full path eventually.
So wrapping this all up, what are the big takeaways for listeners, whether you're just interested or maybe in business yourself?
Well, the main thing is understanding that products generally do have this life cycle. Introduction, growth, maturity, decline, and maybe extension.
And that businesses aren't passive observers?
Definitely not. They're constantly making strategic choices, using tactics like exporting or diversifying, trying to manage that cycle, trying to extend the profitable stages as long as possible.
And just knowing about this cycle helps you make sense of the market around you.
Absolutely. You start seeing why new products launch with certain strategies, why features get added later, why some things you used to love aren't around anymore. It's a lens for viewing innovation, competition, trends.
So here's a final thought to leave everyone with. Think about today's world. Technology's moving incredibly fast. Consumer values are shifting, especially towards things like sustainability.
Big shifts happening.
So thinking about all that, what existing products do you, the listener, think are maybe right on the edge of a major decline?
And conversely, which ones might be poised for a surprising extension? Maybe a rebirth, using some of those strategies we talked about.
What clues will you look for now, knowing these stages, knowing how companies play this game? Something to think about.
Definitely food for thought.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.